Why, Gabriel? Start from the beginning.
The latest Overwatch comic, Retribution, and the new in-game event dive into a turning point in Overwatch history, when Blackwatch was exposed to the public and Gabriel Reyes began his journey to becoming Reaper. But it also revealed a huge amount of new lore on Talon's activities, McCree and Soldier 76's viewpoints, as well as our first real introduction to Widowmaker's late husband. This was the beginning of the end for Overwatch, so let's break down all of the details.
Whatever happened to plausible deniability?
Little late for that. Tell me what actually happened.
The story begins in a Blackwatch facility located in Rome. It seems that they've only recently begun to set up the facility, as Gérard mentions that they're still settling in and there seems to be a lot of people moving crates around. Gérard Lacroix was the husband of Amélie Lacroix, who you probably know better as Widowmaker. We already knew that he was spearheading operations against Talon, but it's new information that he was working alongside Blackwatch so closely. Sometime after this comic takes place, his wife would be kidnapped by Talon and brainwashed. She was then released and found by Overwatch, but looking none the worse for wear, she returned to her normal life. 2 weeks later, she killed Gérard in his sleep before returning to Talon to complete her transformation into the lethal killing machine known as Widowmaker. However, all of that obviously takes place at a later date, as for now Gérard is alive and well. He mentions saving Reyes in Cape Town, which is a new story that we know nothing about, but it's interesting to know that Gérard was most likely a field agent at some point in his past, and apparently a very good one, as Reyes has a lot of respect for him. At this point in time, Blackwatch are only just starting to understand the scale and power of Talon, and they're investigating a high-level member, Antonio. This is the first time he's been named, but possibly not the first time we've seen him. In the Moira Origins video, there is an image of a Talon meeting, and in the background there is what looks to be a large suit of armour. We know there is some significance to this image, as the original artwork commissioned for the video didn't include it. Blizzard added it in themselves. It's certainly not clear, but the Talon connection is there, and the physical proportions seem to line up. Back to the story, Antonio's compound is located in Venice, which we also know is the location of a Talon headquarters in the present day. This is almost certainly the same building. We also learned more about what kind of person McCree was at this stage in his life. Prior to joining Blackwatch, he was a criminal, and we see that he hasn't lost his clear disregard for the law and desire for violence, as it's displayed in his language throughout the comic. However, Gérard cautions McCree and Reyes to be careful and play by the rules, something that Commander Reyes agrees with him on, at least for now. While this conversation was taking place, however, a Talon operative has armed a bomb within the facility, and just as McCree and Reyes leave the headquarters, it explodes, killing many agents and badly wounding Gérard. We then get what is possibly the most important part of the story, a conversation between Reyes and Morrison at the Overwatch Swiss headquarters. This is the site where in a few years' time these two men will fight, causing an explosion that should have killed both of them. Of course we know they survived and now use the aliases of Reaper and Soldier 76, but for now they are two friends trying to resolve a terrible situation. Morrison wishes to open an official investigation and do everything by the book, but Reyes says that by the book isn't working anymore. This is a key moment in these characters' stories. They have been best friends for years and literally saved the world together. Their goals are the same, but it's their methods of achieving them that are beginning to differ. Morrison wants to keep doing what they've been doing, working within the law to uphold peace. However, for a year now, Overwatch has been being attacked by Talon, and Reyes believes that they need to cut through the red tape that's stopping them from doing what needs to be done. He suggests snatching Antonio and questioning him for a few days. He believes it will make Talon think twice before hitting them again, and Antonio's friends in government won't protect him as they won't want his dealings with them landing in the newspapers. Morrison clearly agrees, even if he doesn't directly say it, and because it would break countless international laws, he can't officially sanction it, so instead he tells Reyes that he will leave the final call up to him. It's unclear if this is the first time that Morrison has given Reyes his unofficial permission to do something like this. He really seems to struggle hard with the decision, but it's certainly an important moment. Even though they don't know it at the time, this is the beginning of Overwatch's downfall. We know Overwatch would eventually collapse under accusations that they were involved in many illegal activities, and it appears that most of that involved Blackwatch. This moment could be what put them on the path to destruction. With his unofficial permission, Reyes put together a team to capture Antonio, including himself, McCree, Genji and Moira. Lastly, on the final page of the book, we have a few important things. The first is in the centre, these two images showing the difference between Overwatch and Blackwatch. Overwatch is bound by the rules. Morrison looks backwards over the bodies of dead agents and stands still. Blackwatch is the opposite. Reyes talks about breaking the rules and he walks forward. The imagery is clear. Reyes is turning his back on Overwatch's ideals as he seeks to save the world in the way he thinks is best, while Morrison stands with the law, but by doing so is looking backwards and unable to move on. Then in the final page, we see Reyes pulling up his hood, foreshadowing his transformation into Reaper and the beginning of that journey.
Well, Jack, that's one hell of a story.
Then we move into the story of the in-game event. The Blackwatch strike team arrives in Venice, but things do not go well. It's implied from the trailer and the comic that McCree probably messes up.
What about you? Anything to add?
Where do you want me to start?
It's possible that he kills Antonio or in some way puts the team into a bad position. As a result, they have to fight their way through the streets and in the process expose their presence to the world.
So much for keeping a low profile.
Up until this point, Blackwatch was a closely kept secret, and being caught breaking international law does not look good. This is what we previously knew as the Venice Incident, and it was following inquiries into this that Moira's employment became known and the public opinion of Overwatch began to crumble. In the coming years, we would see things like the uprising in London, which will also be playable once again as part of the new event. Another incident of Overwatch breaching international law, but this time they were able to save the day. All of this would eventually lead to the fall of Overwatch, and I love that we're getting a better look at Reyes and Morrison's relationship, and that it's not just as simple as Reyes being a bad guy. He's trying to do the right thing, at least for now. What do you think of this new story information? How does Reyes go from this hatred for Talon to sitting on their council? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, this is James for Curse, saying thanks for watching, and enjoy the game.